there, out there in remote learning land. I'm back again today with another tutorial on how to use another one of the Math Learning Center apps. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Pattern Shapes app. Again, if you are looking at this video and you are not experienced with the Math Learning Center, if you look at where my cursor is following up here, mathlearningscenter.org. If you go to the mathlearningscenter.org or you just press in a Google search for Math Learning Center and you put apps after your Google search, you will come to a page that looks like this. So Math Learning Center apps. And then once you get to this page, you're going to want to make sure that you press on the link that says Open Web App. If you press on the name of the app, what happens is it sends you to an informational page like this, which tells you about the app. If you want to go directly into the app, then you're going to want to press Open Web App. So for this application today, this is pattern shapes, it's called. And in the educational world, we talk about these as pattern blocks. And pattern blocks are used for lots of different purposes. And I've had lots of teachers who are talking about teaching symmetry as one of the things that they're going to be working on with their students with remote learning. And this is a great app for that. What you do is you just drag these pieces over and you can place them in different places. So if I wanted to make something that was symmetrical, now watch, I can grab this and I can turn things so they're on a different angle, and that's not quite where I want it to be, so I can turn it a little bit more and then position this triangle in place. And I can continue to do that until I have, a symmetrical shape going on here. So this is one application. And kids have a lot of fun with this because you can really get creative with designs. And so this is just a really simple one that I'm doing right now. But kids, if they get the opportunity to play around with this app, can really come up with some amazing things. So now if I was working on symmetry with students and a student has made a picture that looks like this, we might want to pull out this pencil app down here. And I'm going to drag this over because my bar that showed up way far over. So just give me a second while I click on this and drag it over to my screen recorder over there. It is. You should be able to see this right here. Okay, so now we've been working on symmetry. We want to see where the lines of symmetry are with the shape. This pen right here will help us draw a line, which is a straight line, which you could go down through. So if you ask students to share where the line of symmetry is, you can draw it that way, and then maybe they have another line of symmetry that goes across the middle here. So that's how they can show their lines of symmetry. This tool also, you can change colors of the lines if you wanted to make a blue line instead. Use it like that. This is also an eraser. You can erase pieces, or if you want to erase the whole thing, you click that bottom one and clear drawing yes, clears it all. So that's just one application, is if you wanted to have students make drawings that were symmetrical. Another way that you can use this is that sometimes we ask students, can you make a shape with other shapes? So let's say they have this hexagon that they started out with, and we've asked them, can you make a hexagon with other shapes? Again, we're not studying symmetry here. We're just looking at how shapes are related to each other. And they might try putting these triangles inside of the hexagon to see how many can fit in there. And might play around with this and see, oh my gosh, look at all of these triangles can fit into this hexagon like a giant puzzle. And so it really gets kids thinking about spatial relationships and seeing how different shapes are related to one another. So that's another application that you can use this for, is really looking at how shapes are related to one another. I've worked with kindergartners with this, and they really enjoy playing around and saying, oh, look, I can make a hexagon with two trapezoids. When students are using this, it's great if they can use the vocabulary about the shapes, talk about the different attributes, like how many sides, what are the angles like. So those are some ways to use it as well. Another thing we can do is work on it with fractions. So you saw that I made this hexagon out of 6 triangles. So we can see that this hexagon can be split into 6. And each of these pieces is 1/6 of the hexagon. So those teachers and students that are working on fractions, this is a kind of a cool way to show. And in this hexagon, we split it into halves. So each of these trapezoids is a half. So there's another way that we can use it. So I've mentioned symmetry, I've mentioned spatial relationships with shapes, and then I've also mentioned fractions. And what's really just awesome about it too is that students can just play and design and have fun and use shapes in a really unique way. So I would encourage you to really see if you can get your students playing with this. Some other things you can do down here is you can change colors of your shapes. So I just brought out that rhombus. I turned it blue. Now down here with these bars, I can turn another color. I'm going to turn it purple. This bar right here, I'm going to click. If you want to make it smaller, there we go. If you want to make it larger again, you can. So you have those options with those shapes. This one right here, if I click this, I get a copy. So if you made a purple rhombus and you don't want to keep changing the colors, then you can do that. Now the angles here, there's another use of it. If you are in a grade where they are studying angles, like I know that in 4th grade they learn, about what a right angle is. You can use this to also play around with the angles and find what a right angle is, what an acute angle is, what an obtuse angle is, and then measure your shapes and say, okay, what kind of angle does this trapezoid have here? Let's move this along. And look, that's a 60-degree angle. So we can play with that protractor tool that's on this as well. Kids can write. This little tool is available for them to write. So if they wanted to write a fraction, they can do that and then click away and they can move that to wherever they wanted on the page. Now, you can also, I'm going to click this button down here, which is a redo button. It's going to clear my whole screen. It's going to yes. Now, this little picture down here, if I click this, it gives me options of outlines for kids to play around with. I'm going to bring my screen recorder back over so you can see the whole thing. Sorry, I'm going to show that again because I realized when I had my screen recorder on, you didn't see it. I clicked on this button down here and this shows up. And these are outlines. So these are, what you can do is you can give students these. And as I showed you before, we tried to fill a shape with other shapes. We filled the hexagon with triangles. So you can do this and have students see, okay, can I fill this with shapes and see if I can fill this in? And this is a really fun activity for students to do. They really enjoy playing around with that. So you can use that tool, this little button down here that says grid or no grid. If students want to have some graph paper behind, they can. And then look at this. You see that they're right here. That changes it to triangle grid, or you can have the square grid. So, or no grid. So anyway, there's some other tools that you can play around with as well. Kids love playing with pattern blocks at school. I guarantee you they're going to love playing with this Shapes app at home. So I hope you try it. Thank you for watching today.